All right. Good morning, everyone. Happy Tuesday. Hope you're having a great morning so far. Great day so far. Going live on Instagram as well here. Good morning, Instagram. Morning, YouTube. Hope y'all are doing fantastic. We got gonna go over some disc releases today, some updates on some of the stuff going on at Foundation, and then I finished the book Think Again. So I'm gonna give you kind of my thoughts on that. I just have the epilogue left, so I figured I was fine to do a little disc review, book review, and then read the epilogue tonight, and then answer questions. Give you all some updates. So as people are rolling in, some updates on some stuff that is hitting the site this week, and just some general updates. First off, we had these Heck Yeah stamp discs hit the site last week. I don't think I pushed them on this stream. They're MVP, so the glitches and the rhythm are either sold out or close. Actually, I can tell you if they're sold out. It looks like the glitch and the rhythm still have a few left. So the glitch and the rhythm still have a few. The echo we still have a decent bit of, but the echo was not very it didn't receive the love it should have. And so that's why I wanted to bring it on stream here, because I went out and threw it yesterday. We'll probably have that video posting on Foundation's Instagram here later this week. But I went out and threw it yesterday and really enjoyed it. It's basically a streamline hex, more or less. Very, very dead straight. You put it on hyzer, it's going to hold it. It's going to like slowly fight it, but it's not going to flip all the way up and over. But you can get some good hyzer flips. You throw it flat, it's going to turn. It's a phenomenal disc. So if you're looking for a dead straight mid range that has a really great hand feel, then there's still some of these echoes live on the site, which is sweet. But then this week is an MVP restock week, which is very exciting. We have a bunch of MVP that's going to be hitting the site over the course of this week. Most of it will be up by Friday. But two discs I wanted to highlight were two different drivers. The Dimension and the Photon were two that we also threw yesterday. The Photon I know pretty well. It's been in my bag at different times. It's just a really fun 11 speed. Right out the box, has a little bit of flip up. You throw it flat, it's got some good turn and stuff to it. Just goes far. Awesome, phenomenal disc. The Dimensions one that I had heard like Eagle and Simon and them talk about, and I hadn't thrown. It's flight number wise 14 and a half speed, which that's funny. 503. So when I took it out to the field, I was thinking this is going to be the most overstable disc I've ever seen in my life. Turns out it actually has a decent bit of turn to it. Like I was able to just hit it hard and flat and get a little turn. It was throwing pushing hyzer and it was going so far. So don't be scared away from it. It's also very comfortable for a fast disc. I would probably call it like a 13 speed. 14 might make sense. I don't know. Disc speeds are but a number, but it feels comfortable in the hand. And I'm not like, and I don't really like nukes or stuff like that. So, very comfortable disc, and don't be intimidated by the flight number because this is also a 173 one. So it's not like I got a lightweight one. It just goes far and was nowhere near as overstable as I thought. It was still overstable, but nowhere near as overstable. You get some really good distance out of it. So I might actually end up putting the Dimension in my bag. But all that to say, bunch of MVP, a lot of your favorite molds hitting the site this weekend. So let's peel the curtain back a little bit and take a look at some stuff going on at Foundation. Right now, one of our big focuses is still just working on the back end of the site because we want to continue just to make it easier for you to navigate. So the way we're operating with variants, the pictures, stuff like that, we're trying to really make that as easy as possible for you all. The product descriptions have been received well. That's just going to be a long process of rolling it out to have it on the whole site because each product requires a lot of dedicated attention to building out the flight charts and all of that stuff. But once it's done, it'll be well worth it. And so we're also trying to just continue to figure out ways to make the actual navigation process easier. Oh, one thing I forgot to mention while we're talking about the site is we had the pre-order for the Simon Team Series Tesla, the Fission Special Edition and stock time lapse, the Neutron Detour, both stock and a special edition, and the Electron Entropy are all live on the site. So if you're an MVP fan, all of that is over there. But yeah, we're trying to continue just to make your navigation and experience with the products easier. So we're continuing just to try to find different ways on the back end just to speed that up, give you all the details you want, not a lot of details more than you want or need, but give you access to a lot of those details and then make the process easier. Um, Shay said, I like how you consolidated the blends now, clicking the disc and then choosing firm, medium, soft is so much easier. Yeah. So we're just trying to continue to work with different stuff and take all the feedback y'all are giving us, filter through it and say like, what is the common thing behind what everyone's asking? Because some things are really simple that people are just a lot of people want this, and some of it's like we just can't make that happen. Other things is they're complex requests, but you can kind of hear the heart behind it, and a lot of people are asking different requests with the same end thing. So continue to work on that. Hopefully soon we'll be able to continue that. We're also looking into adding a live chat um, to the site for support requests and different just questions that it's easier instead of sending an email and it might take 24 hours for the response, or if you're sending it over the weekend, it might be Monday. The live chat, if you're just during a business day, you're on our site, you could pop that up and Jason or whoever would be able to respond to you real time. We're looking at adding that. I think the hesitancy honestly is um we want that, like, if it was we just want a way to make sure it's just like for support and not people just trying to talk shop, because as much fun as that is, like just like chatting back and forth about disc golf, we have other channels for that, like our Discord, Twitter, all of that. And so we don't want the site to become a spot where people go to like just talk about disc golf, and then what is meant for support ends up being used just for like a hangout. I don't know if that would happen, but that's just like one of the things we're trying to make sure we can lock in on. So possible live chat, and then hopefully next week, either next week or the week after I'm at the beach. But in the next few weeks, I'll be able to reveal the first of the three special projects I was talking about last week. Because after I had a meeting yesterday, about an hour long. It wasn't a bad meeting. Um, and it's officially going to happen. So that was the final, like, we got everything submitted, approved, all of that stuff. So now we just have to finalize some design stuff, a few details, and then I can spill the beans on what this project is. I'm super excited about it. In my opinion, I think it's going to be biggest for our like consistent foundation fans who, so pretty much you guys who are watching this, but you watch what we do, you shop with us consistently. Um, I think that's who it's going to be biggest for and serve the most, which I'm really excited about. But I think it'll also be a really good way to just kind of bring people into the community. Um, and so we'll be able to talk about that more hopefully in another week or two. I could spill the beans right now, but I want to reveal it to everyone at once. I don't want to like it should be ready to go in like 2 weeks. So I'm very, very, very excited about that because it's also going to open up a wide range of possibilities for us on the site wise. So basically, stay tuned. We got something cool coming. All right, well, let's get into before we get into the questions. I just wanted to briefly go over this book I just finished, Think Again by Adam Grant. Whenever I'm reading like business, leadership, or like I guess this would be more personal development, but for me, it was important for leadership book. I want to bring them onto here because this is kind of my outlet to talk about that type of stuff, um, and kind of give y'all my thoughts and opinions. Highly recommend this book. Really, really enjoyed it. And if you check if you're on YouTube, if you're on Instagram, I'm sorry, but if you're on YouTube, if you look in the description, you'll find a like affiliate link, quote unquote, to this app I've been using called Readwise. Basically all the affiliate link does is it gives me a free month, an additional free month of the free trial, and it extends your free trial by an additional month. So there's not really kickback because it is a paid thing once you go fully in. But why I've been enjoying it is it allows you to like, I'm a big underliner. So when I'm reading a book, like I'll underline whatever stands out to me. And what Readwise lets you do is you can just scan that instead of having to underline it with a pen or write it in a journal. You scan it and it saves it to the app, um, or it's also a website, and it then will like send you highlights, and you can like categorize all of your notes and what you scanned into different tags and stuff like that, and then it'll send you daily highlights, which is super exciting. So there's actually two links in the description. One is if you are interested, you read a bunch and you want to use Readwise for yourself. That's what gets us both a free month. The second one is this thing they have called a broadcast. Um, and I don't really know what it's gonna do. What it seems like it's gonna do is once a week, it'll just compile my highlights from the week, so, like, stuff that I underlined in books that I'm reading and email them to you. So if you're not a big reader, but you want some of the quotes that, like, I'm pulling from different books, then that could be something fun too. So it looks like it'll automatically do it because I'm not trying to add something else to my plate where I'm typing up emails. Um, but if it automatically does it, that'll be sick. So both those links are in the YouTube thing. But regardless, I'm gonna read you a few quotes that I scanned in from Think Again on Readwise. So more or less, the premise behind this book was getting you out of your rut of. I believe how he put it is like you typically, when you have an idea, you can turn into a preacher, a politician, or a prosecutor when we need to all be scientists. So more or less, you're either preaching an idea, you're prosecuting someone else for their idea, you're playing politics of trying to, get people on your side by, rewording whatever. Or what we should be doing as a scientist, which is like a scientist, instead of a statement being a fact, a statement's a hypothesis, and then they almost want to be proved wrong because that's how you learn. That's the premise behind this whole book, is getting us to think more like scientists and less like which of the other ones you fall into. Um, it the back of it basically says it examines the critical art of rethinking, learning to question your opinions and open other people's minds, which can position you for excellence at work and wisdom in life. So some of the quotes I took from this first one was the purpose. This is from page 26. The purpose of learning isn't to affirm our beliefs; it's to evolve our beliefs. Later in the book, he said, while humility is a permeable filter that absorbs life experience and converts it into knowledge and wisdom, arrogance is a rubber shield that life experience simply bounces off of. A mark of lifelong learners is recognizing that they can learn something from everyone they meet. Arrogance leaves us blind to our weakness. Humility is a reflective lens. It helps us see them clearly. Confident humility is a corrective lens. It enables us to overcome those weaknesses. And then even later in the book, he said there's a fine line between heroic persistence and foolish stubbornness. Sometimes the best kind of grit is gritting our teeth and turning around. That was actually, I read that this morning. There was part of like this study where people who like gritty people who like typically will like, when the going gets tough, the tough gets going, right? Of like, you are gonna just go all in and lean into it. There's a study on them of like even people who are extreme and are like doing some type of hike, right? They'll reach a point where they're like, I'm going to reach the summit no matter what, and it'll end up killing them because they ignore all the red flags, and it'll actually I forget what it was called, but it's some type of there's a science behind why when we've gone all in on something, when we have all the red flags that it's time to turn around, we can actually double down and go even farther. And it's basically like we're just, that's where he said there's a fine line between heroic persistence and foolish stubbornness, because sometimes the red flags are like pushed through, gritted out, and it's going to lead to something great. And other times it's like, no, this is a bad idea. Let's turn around. So I thought that was a really good quote. But those are some of the quotes and highlights I pulled from it. Um, and I'm really enjoying Readwise. I think it'll help me because what I've also done is like add in a bunch of old books that I read, and so I can like go into like Leaders Eat Last. I read a while ago. I talked to you all about that a few weeks ago, and so I have like all my highlights from that book in here, which is awesome. So, anyways, not an ad read. I just went for more free months. So if you're a reader like me, you can get more free months as well. But let's answer some questions here. Highly recommend Think Again, though. That sounds like a book you would be interested in. Great book. The first one, I actually stopped on Instagram on this one, so I don't know if more have come in, because Luke Down said, what do you think about the negative feedback the new Banter has gotten? We've actually talked internally about this a bunch because we switched the Banter from a podcast to a live show. And the reasoning behind that was more so selfish reasoning. I think there is a really big community aspect to building community around a live show. Example A is what is here. But there is something about like it becoming a part of people's daily routine. They're all getting into the live show, but I also understand that made the product that is getting put out slightly worse because it's no longer a podcast, which is what everyone was used to. It's now just a live show. But the main reason for that pivot is the Banter is not a popular show, especially on the scheme of the shows we run. It's not a disc golf show. But what it does is it gets employees here, people who are on the show, excited about being on the show, and we have a ton of fun with it. And so, what the problem we were running into with the banter before is the more structured it got, the rotating cast. There were some days where some people were really busy, but the dice had picked them, so it felt like an obligation more than something fun. And that's not what the banter was there for. Because again, it's one thing if like it feels like an obligation to do grip locked, and that's going to reach a lot of people. We have brand deals on it, all of that. Like obligation or not, that's the job, right? The banter, it was a lot different when like we're talking 2,000 people are going to listen to it, which is it's awesome. But the original aspect behind the banter was this just really fun way to just talk about non-disc golf stuff, and it's just like a passion project, just a lot of fun, whatever. So that was trying to get the banter back to its roots. So it had become something that the banter had turned into probably a better product, a better show, but it wasn't what we originally wanted it to be. And so that's where the pivot happened. And so I think a lot of the pushback was people who'd fallen in love with the banter that we didn't want it to be. And so when we switched it back to kind of what it was originally, because like I think the banter started way back as the lunch break podcast on Patreon. And then we were like, oh, people don't like when a mic's really close to a bunch of guys eating lunch. That makes sense. And then we pivoted it to the banter only on Patreon. And then we took the banter off of Patreon and went to the public with it. So by the time it got to the public, it already went through a bunch of variations. This is more or less getting it back to lunch break without the lunch. Um, I think one of the biggest qualms people have is that it's not on Spotify, which I fully understand that. The problem is there's kind of two routes to go. And if we're going to put a product out on Spotify, it's audio only. Well, the audio of six people sitting around a table is just not going to be good unless we invest in six different mics. But then that would go again kind of against what the banter is, which is just like we want it to be a plug and play. And like right now, how it works is I plan it for like 20 minutes to just get the segments together. We go live, we sit for an hour, it's done. The more we add to it, the more produced it has to be, the more edited it has to be. And now it takes up 4 or 5 hours. And those hours are just much better spent building what we're actually trying to build here. And so we're trying to keep the banter alive by making it not a distraction, but just something fun we get to do. So I understand the negative feedback. And if it was a product like Grip Locked or Tour Life or our website or our main channel, stuff that's pushing Foundation forward and trying to grow Foundation Nation and trying to grow our community, what we're doing here, then we would really take that feedback and try to like change it. But the problem is the banter just doesn't exist for any of those. So we don't want to apply resources that could be applied to our main vision, main mission to the banter. So yeah, that's kind of what the banter is. Um, and it sucks for banter fans. I understand. And I wish it wasn't the case. If the banter was like vastly more popular, it might be different. But the problem is to get it vastly more popular, we have to commit a lot of time, energy, and resources that right now are going towards things that we're really passionate about. And it just isn't a good uh, exchange, if that makes sense. So Michael Kern said the Hydro Club Championship is only for members that paid for a year in advance, right? Yes. So the Hydro Club Championship is for annual members who joined by the end of January. So people so if you join annual today, you can get invited to the Hydro Club Championship next year, but it won't get you in this year. The reason we do it that way is when we're planning, we want to have a set number, know who we're planning for, know the max amount of people that could even come, all of that. And if we leave it open, then that number fluctuates up and down. It makes it really hard to plan. So we just cut it off at January, and that's what we get. Everyone from February of last year through January of this year receives an invite to this year's Hydro Club Championship. They also get the annual disc and all that stuff. And it just makes life simple. So we don't have people coming in and out. So that way it's really easy to sort, really easy to that. So you can join to get into next year's Hydro Club Championship. But yes, that is the current state, which the Hydro Club Championship dates were just set, which is super exciting, coming in October. So if you are on that tier, be excited. If you're not on that tier, like I said, you can join now for next year to make sure you don't miss out. B Field says, is sorting by plastic on the table at all? I don't know what you mean by that. Are you if you're saying by variant, it's on the table. It's one of the things we're looking into. It's just again, try to streamline the products. Disc Luke said, bring back the flight number search you guys used to have. You can pick. It should still be on our homepage unless it got deleted. Let me see. Should be right here. Website's not loading. Huh, it looks like it's not working currently. I wonder if that's what you're talking about. Let me open it up on Safari, because there's a spot where it should be, but I wonder if it just is like my browser broke it or if it's broken. It looks to be broken. Okay, I will text Brad about that right now because that should still be there. There's a section still there for it, so there must be some type of code that went wrong. All right, I've texted Brad, so hopefully that'll be back up soon. Thanks, Disc Luke. All right, let's see any other questions here on Instagram. Trying to get back up to current. Any thoughts on getting rid of the automated answering service for the foundation shop? Would be great to speak to a person first about discs. Give me more information, Brian. I don't know if you're talking about Facebook, if you're talking about phone. Our phone system here sucks. We're trying to figure out a fix to it. But what am I drinking today? No coffee today. I actually just had orange juice from Chick-fil-A. So no coffee today. I might end up walking over and getting drip, but unfortunately nothing today. If I was drinking something today, the coffee I have at home is a natural Ethiopian, I believe. I know it's an Ethiopian, but I don't know if it's washed or natural. I think it's a natural. It's very good. Well, that's a good question. W. Dinkley said, does a live show increase revenue on YouTube? It depends on what your revenue currently is. So if you're uploading, so short answer, no. Because let's look at it this way, right? If you were to upload I don't know if I have a piece of paper, but if you were to upload an hour-long podcast, right? You can insert those mid-rolls how you want. So you can monetize it to, there's different strategies on monetization, but basically you're submitting the mid-rolls how you want and make sure that the average viewer is seeing X amount of mid-rolls. So you're kind of in full control of that monetization. With the YouTube live stream, Instagram, the only way you make money with live streams is if people like send those gifts, which I don't even understand what they are or why anyone sends them. But that's the only way, to my knowledge, you make money going live on Instagram. On YouTube, you can make money still with the mid-roll ads, but YouTube a lot of times dynamically inserts them, or you can pull up a button where you can like click to insert it. So what typically happens though is it's not monetized as effectively during the live stream. Funny enough, I said that and a little notification has popped up that says ads will run shortly. But it's not. Where's my train of thought? When you're doing a live stream, it's not as effectively monetized, but you have viewers in there that are going to count towards the overall viewer count. So like Tour Life, I know runs at like 1,300 people watch it live consistently, right? But as soon as the live stream's over, you can go back in and add those mid rolls. So then all the viewers post live are monetized just like you would have just normally uploaded it. So the only way that ad revenue gets made up is super chats. Like if people like super chat so that their question can be seen more or stuff like that. So there are ways that the live stream can earn you more money than a normal video, but 9 times out of 10, the ad stream or the live stream will probably earn you less, unless you're normally uploading a 10-minute video and the live stream is like an hour long. Then the hour long is going to be monetized more. So hopefully that makes sense. But where the benefit of the live stream comes in is the community aspect of it, where people are in the chat talking to each other. You're interacting directly with the chat. That's a bunch of stuff that can't happen when you're doing a normal video or a normal podcast. You can't interact with the chat, and the chat isn't interacting with each other at the same level that they do during live streams. So long-term monetization, I think there's a lot of arguments to be made that consistent live streaming can actually increase your revenue to your other things, because you'll build a stronger community that's a bigger fan base. But just straight YouTube revenue, no. Favorite backhand driver for straight shots? Distance driver right now would be the drive, fairway driver, the passion. What Paige Pierce has done is actually very smart. She has essentially created a putter, fairway, and distance driver version of the same disc. She's just missing that mid, um, because the drive is a longer passion and the fierce is like a putter version of the passion. Like they're all just like flip up, dead straight discs. So kind of sick. Michael Storm said, "Would Foundation ever do a store vlog series like how Round Two did it?" I don't know what Round Two is. Might be an interesting series with pretty low editing time. I want to. I'm as soon as I get a few of these projects that are rolling right now, that just are very time consuming, mainly on the design end, with like the product redesign and the blah 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 that I haven't been able to tell you all about yet. Once those are kind of handled, then with that time that frees up, I want to start doing some behind the scenes vlogs for this YouTube channel. Um, and that's kind of what I want. Like the moving vlog was one. I would like to do like a bi-weekly or weekly, just kind of behind the scenes vlog to give you guys more insight of like what's truly going on here. We used to do one called Behind the Door on oh, what was it on? It might have been on Foundation Nation channel, and those were always a blast. I personally why I want it is I love being able to look back. Like we have some office vlogs on the Foundation Nation channel that I can go back and watch like Black Friday from 2020. And it's just crazy to see the 4-year progression in the business. And I would love 4 or 5 years from now to be able to look back and be like, holy cow, I remember when we were doing whatever we're doing that we're not doing anymore. So that's selfishly why I want it, but I know it's also interesting pieces of content. So I definitely want to bring those. Round two is a resale shop for streetwear and stuff, but the series focused on the local communities, people that came in, behind the scenes stuff. So it's almost like The Office. This kind of sounds like what they were doing, but a lot of fun. We tried a game in my youth group called On the Spot Commercials. It would be an electric game for the banter. You basically have to do a no prep commercial for a random product. That's genius, Joshua. I'm gonna send that in the banter right now. On the spot. Actually, I think I can just I think I can copy and paste your comment. Don't worry, I'll copy your name in there so you get credit too. There we go. Send that to the banter chat so people know. That'll be a fun one to bring. All right. Is the Grip Lock Tour Life battle still going? Yeah, Tour Life's in the lead. We still keep track of it. We need some fresh merch for Grip Lock and Tour Life, but still going on. Just not super pushed. Oh, this is a great question. I think a lot of people wonder when they first get into disc golf, right? So Simon asked, can you forehand and backhand discs, or are there discs that should be primarily forehand or primarily backhand? So why? Because I think where this idea kind of comes from a lot of times, I don't know if this is where it came from with you, Simon, but for me in the back in the day, is you would have pros that would talk about. We'll use this photon for example of like, this is my forehand driver, really only forehanded, blah blah blah, right? Um, and so that kind of leads to these things of like, and a lot of people will have discs that they only forehand or only backhand, but that it's not because you only can certain discs, if that makes sense. Like every disc can be thrown forehand and backhand, obviously. The key difference is a lot of times most people have either a faster forehand and slower backhand, or like me, I have a faster backhand and slower forehand. So where this photon for me on backhand is going to get a little flip up, a nice full flight. On forehand, it's just going to be overstable. So the options are I can put a forehand disc in that's going to give me that full flight that for my backhand is going to be crazy flippy, and make it just a forehand disc, or I can just try to throw crank over with this disc and like try to get it to flex. So a lot of times that's where people will end up with a disc, and sometimes it's just a comfort thing where it's like I don't like the feel of this photon backhand. I only like the feel forehand, but I'm so good with the forehand, I'm going to leave it in. So discs can be thrown both ways, but it just comes down to what's comfortable for your game and what makes sense. Because if you are just a forehand dominant player, there might just be discs that you don't like backhand, that you only like forehand, or the backhand might be a specialty where you're like, I only like this disc backhand. So it's really just a preference thing. But a lot of times the reason people get into that is because their forehand is either drastically overpowered compared to the backhand or drastically underpowered compared to the backhand. And so you need a disc that'll fly a certain way only on forehand, if that makes sense. What is your grip for forehands? Saw something recently, stack fingers equals more power. This is what I've always done. That's always been my forehand grip. I just tuck it in as hard as I can here, go here. I've tried this grip, which I think is like what Sexton does, or maybe it's something more like that. But I've tried like these grips. I've seen some people do literally this. I've seen some people do that more so. I lose all control this way. I lose angle control. I get a little bit more spin on it, which is great, but it sacrifices accuracy and angle control and everything. Um, I believe Mikey from Overthrow was telling me about like this grip. I think it was like this kind of something like that, and I tried it and it just didn't work for me. For me, this is just what's most comfortable. Um, so that's what I've always stuck to. I'm not the greatest forehand player, so I don't know if you should be getting forehand advice to me, but that's what's comfortable for me, and it works well enough. It's good enough. Tyler Bodker says that a common occurrence to get tick bites every year on the East Coast or is easy to avoid. Common occurrence for me. Yeah, you just kind of. Luckily, most tick-borne illnesses you have to have like the tick has to be on for like I think it's like 12 to 24 hours, something like that. So like it's just when you get in from mowing the grass or going to play disc golf, you check yourself and get all the ticks off. Um, but pretty common occurrence, especially like New London. You go out there, you're gonna find 10 to 12 ticks. Just is what happens. Okay, W. Dinkley said a follow-up question: does skipping an ad affect you? Do you make more if we watch the whole ad? I so we have no way as creators, at least that I've seen, to see on the back end who skips an ad, who watches the whole thing. I know that unskippable ads earn you more revenue than skippable ads. Um, so I would assume that that's true if like someone doesn't skip an ad. I think a lot of it has to do with the amount of fans that actually just are exposed to the ad. I don't know how much like the click through rate of the ad affects how much people are paying. Um, but I know that the keys is just how many ads are in front of people during your videos. And I know that unskippable ads earn you more than skippable ads, but it reduces the user experience of watching your videos. So that's why people always put both in. Is because you want some mixed in so you earn more, but you also don't want the like only unskippable because then every time you watch a foundation video, you just be like, oh, well, I got to sit through a 4 minute ad if I want to watch the next hole, which isn't fun. So, all right. Shay said, Saul, you're in the bag. Didn't have any MVP. How's it feel being dead to me? Feels great, Shay. Feels great. It's exactly where I want to be. So, well, good news for you is I think the dimensions go into my bag. I think I am going to put this in just to kind of mess with it because I love it. I know the electron entropy is coming soon. Could really see myself falling in love with that. So, what the real thing is, Shay, is there's not only no MVP in my bag, there's no MVP on our shelves. So, something to think about, right? If there is MVP constantly coming in our doors, like most other brands, I probably have more in my bag. So just something to think about there, Shay. Maybe you can like send a message to someone and be like, "Hey, can you make more frisbees, please? They sell really well." Yeah. You saw that Mega May restock though. I don't actually do the ordering. Brad does the ordering, but hopefully Brad saw the Mega May restock. I don't know. It's a fun name for it. Carson said, "What are your thoughts on a disc golf pro tour superintendent? Someone to look over the properties, adjust the courses, help maintain on properties, and develop protocols to help maintain them." We're not there yet. Great idea, Carson. We're not there yet. We first need to lock in what courses we're doing, and secondarily need to find courses that we actually have control over. So, um, yeah. Shay said, "I expect a picture of you crying tears of joy in front of full shelves in a few weeks." Okay, that's great. That'd be awesome, Shay. A lot more MVP would be in my bag if I had it readily available to me all the time. So that could be great. Will Hudson said, "Love behind the scenes video, Miss Foundation Nation. I can't do Patreon due to financials, but would be super excited for you to do more on this channel." We definitely want to do more on this channel. And by we, I mean me. I definitely want to do more behind the scenes stuff on this channel. Because I know Patreon's awesome and Jason does a phenomenal job providing behind the scenes content, pictures, stuff like that. But I fully understand that that doesn't make sense for a lot of people. And I don't want to ever push someone to do something that doesn't make sense for them. So I still want to be able to provide some behind the scene content to people who would really love it, but just can't justify Patreon. And I'm hoping that's what this channel can be, where there's still going to be plenty of value to Patreon because there's going to be unboxings and all of that. It just be like a little bit more behind the scenes vlog type stuff on this channel. That's kind of where I want to go with it. So. When are the Bogey Road battles coming back? Soon. We just had that poll go out. I don't know if we've officially announced who won the poll, but we have the city we're going to, and so now we have to lock in who we're playing there and when we're going. So a few months until the Bogey Road battles will officially come back. We actually have a Bogey Road battle of some type coming out today. We battled Clayton Lewis, one of our employees who's getting ready to play Worlds. It's like 1,000 some rated. He's the guy that fixed Trevor's putt. Well, somewhat fixed Trevor's putt. Trevor can get out of his head. And so we played him. He played singles. We played doubles at New London Longs, and it was kind of electric. So, if I travel to Lynchburg, what one course do you suggest? New London. Have I ever played at Virginia Beach? I have not. How's Birdie missing from last break 57? I don't know. I haven't seen him. Hopefully he's doing fine. Hopefully he's back out there at the next break 57. So, all right. We'll take like one more question from Instagram and YouTube, and then we're going to wrap this up. Shay said, did it count in addition to all the new releases they restocked? 43 discs. Wow. That's a lot. Well, unless it's only 43 discs. I'm assuming you mean 43 molds. They restocked 43 molds. That's a lot. 43 discs, that would suck. I'll take Brad. Shay is asking about this quote unquote Mega May restock that MVP did. Allegedly restock like 43 molds or something. All right, text it Brad. We'll see. I'm sure he saw it. Brad said, already ordered them all. Okay, well then, Brad, ignore my text. Just came through to you. See, Shay, Brad's on it. But that'll be great. I'll be very excited when that comes in. But all right, that's going to wrap it up I don't see any more questions coming in. So we're going to wrap it up here. I just ordered my next book that I'm going to read. I think it's called The Everything Store. It's about Amazon, Jeff Bezos. I've been listening to that Founders podcast I talked about, I think, last week. And love that. It's a very fun podcast. So actually, I'll link the Founders podcast on YouTube if you're watching on YouTube. Instagram, I have no way to link it. I'm sorry. So those of you watching on YouTube, I'll link that in the description down below because it's a blast. It's great if you're like interested in entrepreneurship or anything like that. It's a lot of fun. And a lot of it though is based on obviously founders and entrepreneurs who, a lot of them, it seems that the reason they were able to be so successful and do a lot of things they did was they studied the entrepreneurs of the past. And so I was like, you know what? That'd be very interesting. So I bought Everything Store for my next book. And then the next one after that is going to be Sam Walton, Made in America, about the founder of Walmart. And then Poor Charlie's Almanac I'm going to read as well about Charlie Munger. So I'm excited for those. I'll share with you all as I read those kind of what I'm learning from that. But like I said, you can find the link in that description also to that Readwise broadcast where it'll just kind of send you my highlights as I'm reading them. So appreciate y'all for tuning in on Instagram. Appreciate y'all tuning in on YouTube, and talk to you again next week. All right. Peace out, YouTube. That was cringe. Never gonna say peace out again, so you got to witness it the one time it was gonna happen.